season? How's it been?
Well, we've just started the new one, Rob, and they come and go pretty quickly these days.
You don't even get any golf in, do you?
No, not in New Zealand. In Australia they have a 3-week recess, and in South Africa they have 2 months.
Yeah, but
I
that's
found
South
out in the weekend.
And you're not shifting to South Africa,
And we have a week.
Anyway,
We're back into it again, but I think it's probably worth reflecting a wee bit on last season. Obviously, we've seen some huge movements in, like the exchange rate, for example, being at 88 around the end of October and now being currently around the 65, 66 mark. You know, that's a huge movement. It happened reasonably quickly, which, you know, let's be honest, we all know lower exchange rate's good for exporters, and certainly is. The only issue that we had, it came down so fast, and sometimes that does cause issues with clients, contracting, etc., etc. So, but anyway, we're in a lot better environment, lower interest rates, lower exchange rate, as I said. So, the fundamentals for exporting are certainly looking a lot more positive than they were a year, 2 years ago.
I mean, how long has it been 70s and 80s? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so, and that's right across the board, not only wool, obviously, everything. So the market, if you go back to the strong wool indicator last season, you're looking at an NZ cent movement of something like 10% up that mirrored mainly exchange rate movement. Demand was pretty subdued until early in the year, into January, February period, when we did start to see that exchange rate fall, which generated a lot of new business.
Because that's actually that's automatic, isn't it? It's nothing to do with the market. It's just you get more.
Well, what happened there was the actual foreign currency price started to go down, which generated more demand.
Oh, okay.
And that's exactly what happened. So the low point of the market was probably mid-January, something like that. And from then on, it's just continued really to increase, and it's sort of leveled off in the last few months. So we're starting on a higher level. As I say, the strong wool indicator is something like 10% above where it was at the start of last season. We're into a new season, so we'll see what happens. But the reality is at the moment that supply is very limited through these early months, and we're not expecting too much of a change. The only thing at the moment is you have the European holiday period, which is on as we speak. The Chinese are usually fairly quiet at this time, so business conditions are quiet, but then there's not a lot of wool around either.
No, there wouldn't be at this
stage. We'll see what happens. But last year we went through this scenario, and it wasn't, and even though supply was limited, the market held up pretty well.
Are you worried about volumes? Because you know we've had a lot of capital stock being killed off.
Well, I think in this area we are. I think you have to be in the Canterbury area, given what we know has happened through drought, the ramifications of the drought, etc. Feed, stock, as you said. Someone told me the other day a lot of the stock that went to Mexico actually came out of this area, the live sheep. So all these things add up, you know, and if anything, the positive side is that it will actually help the market price, you know, supply.
Yeah, it will do, I guess, because
that's
it's supply
the positive,
and demand.
That's the positive side. Obviously, there's a negative as far as farmers and things are concerned, as far as losing stock, etc., etc. So it's early days. It's interesting to look around the world. There are positives and are negatives, you know. You've got the Chinese situation. Obviously, the economy's not where it was several years ago. It has slowed down. They have stockpiles of a lot of commodities. But the wool thing seems to be going on reasonably well. They bought a lot of wool last season, something like 65,000 tonnes from New Zealand, which represents over 50% of our clip. You know, they're a big force. So if they continue in the same vein, or even less a little bit than they were last season, it's still
going to be pretty good.
It's still positive for the wool clip. Yeah.
Is it becoming fashionable yet? I know I've asked you that over the last 20-something years, but
it's becoming more niche, Rob, I think. I think as the wool volumes decline, I think you're finding more niches for it, and really that's where wool belongs, to be honest with you. It needs to be out of that commodity type market and more into niches, and you can see evidence of that happening, not in a large way, but you can certainly see more progress than we've seen for the last 2 or 3 years, and that is a positive, because I think that's where wool belongs. Talking China, it is basically a commodity market. They're very wool-minded. They have been for as long as I can remember, and they buy almost half the world's wool. It's not only New Zealand. They're a very major player in Australia. They buy something like 70 to 80% of the Australian wool clip. They're a large force in UK, all over the world. So
I guess it's not economic for us, though, to do the value added. It's better that we sell our top line wools to people who can do that.
that's right, except for these niches. There are niches where that's happening, but not a lot, not a lot. So that's the reality of the situation today. Obviously we'd like wool to be in a far better value plane than it is now, but there are some signs out there that it is heading in the right direction as far as the value add's concerned.
The neat thing is that the farmers who have been producing wool have hung in there. And
Yes,
now they're going to get their rewards.
Well, they're getting a better reward. I mean, it was very difficult, as we know, if you go back not too long a period. You know, it was a loss-making proposition in a lot of cases. But it's better than that today. I think, you know, some farmers are making reasonable return on their wool. If you look back at this season, the season just gone, the lamb's wool indicator was way ahead of where it was the season before. So when I talk about the strong wool indicator, that represents something like 70% of the New Zealand clip, but the lamb wool indicator, which is obviously lambs plus finer of all lengths, shorts, long, micron, probably 28 through to say 32 micron, big jump in the price.
So where's that going?
All to China mainly, but not only. Places like Italy and Europe, but mainly China, and I'm not sure of the exact percentage of the lift in the lamb indicator last season, but it would have to be at least, it could even be something like 60 to 70%. It was way ahead. And that's just fashion. They're making these double-faced articles for clothing, more like sort of a insulation type fabric on both sides, and they use these short lamb's wool to make it with. And no, it was very, very positive in the market last season. So hopefully that continues into this season. So there are some really bright spots in the marketplace.
Well, it's your turn, John Dawson.
Yeah. So, you know, we're certainly in a better place than we've been for some time.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed.